You're listening to the official Reformed Stoic podcast, covering politics, philosophy, theology, conspiracy theories. I'm ready to get to the bottom of this life. Are you? Join Wolfgang, Sketty Squad, Purity Gang, as we strive to take dominion over this dying planet. I am Reformed Stoic, and this is my podcast. Let's go, Wolfgang, Sketty, 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 I'm hard. Hard house. Hard man intro. Let's go. Shiggy-diggy. Mic check. Mic check. How are we doing today, gang? All right. We're trying to keep it up to date around here. We're trying to keep the news breaking. Good on my chat earlier for recommending that I watch Kanye, Nick Fuentes, and Milo apparently on the Timcast. I worked out while we were listening to that. And Kanye started out fast and ferocious, and he did not stay long. He stormed off the show. So we're going to watch that clip. A little bit about the COVID-19 lockdown protests in China. Then Trump facing his backlash after having the dinner with Ye and Fuentes. Something a little bit interesting. What is catfishing? We got a little bit of coverage on catfishing and how it can be dangerous. And then lastly, we got a clip that might be a little bit frustrating here. These Christians want American democracy to end. This guy, Tom Hartman, is talking about how foreign troll farms are running the majority of Christian groups on Facebook and whatnot. And seems like we're going to get some kind of like leftist Christian opinions there. And then I'm going to go ahead and probably hit the back tab, and we're going to take a look at some other videos with the theme Christianity, democracy, Christianity and voting Democrat as well. I saw some videos on that. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Grab your cozy, comfy drink, and let's live it. What seems to be the problem, Jackson? WTF, bro? Let's start the show. We don't have time to worry about Jackson, whatever your deal is. Let's do segment it. You're listening to the Reformed Stoic News segment. Let's go. All right, very good, very good. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this clip of Kanye storming off of the Fuentes podcast. Man, I hate it when it does that. Okay. We're good. Here we go.
Because as I'm getting hosed down every day by the press and financially, I'm just standing there. And when I found out that they tried to put me in jail, it was like a dog was biting my arm, and I almost shed a tear, almost. But I still walked in stride through it. Yeah.
I think they've been extremely unfair to you.
Who was they though? We can't say who they is, can
corporate
we?
press. I'm not using the. I don't use the word as the way I guess you guys use. I'm talking about.
It is them though, isn't it? I mean, because
No.
because when you think about it, consider it. In 2018.
What do you mean it's not?
What do I mean? Like, okay, so how about? Are you leaving?
Dude, the way they didn't edit anything out, did they? So Nick was getting ready to like finally start talking. He's like, well, it is them if you think about it. He's like, no, think about it. And then Kanye just flat out blurts out over him, what do you mean it's not? And then as soon as Tim starts talking, he just storms off. Yeah, that was funny. Like, Kanye wasn't interested in letting Nick Fuentes go into his spiel. He just says, what do you mean it's not? While Nick is talking, and then he just gets up and starts leaving as soon as Tim starts to respond. A lot to unpack there.
I guess you guys use. I'm talking about.
It is them though, isn't it? I mean, because
No.
because when you think about it, consider it. In 2018.
What do you mean it's not?
What do I mean? Like, okay, so how about? Are you leaving?
Are you afraid of the press?
Are you afraid of the press? What do you mean it's not? Yo, that's thugging. He's just thugging, dude. They can't tell me nothing. Ha ha. You can't tell me nothing. That's what that was. LMAO, a totally level-headed candidate. What a funny little fellow. Best timeline. So what does it mean? Why am I buying into this drama? Is it just for the headlines? Yeah, pretty much, dude. What does it mean? I loved that I kept watching Tim's podcast after that, and he's pretty much on damage control the entire time. And he just said that like Nick Fuentes and Milo were kind of just laughing in the corner. And I thought that was perfect. It's like, well, what about Nick and Milo? It's like they're kind of just like giggling in the corner, which is, I think I'm starting to kind of get an understanding of their relationship. Dude, everybody just wants to watch Kanye go. Everybody kind of just wants to watch and get front row seats at what Kanye is doing right now. I don't necessarily think that was like amazing for Kanye. All these people are trying to be like, oh, Kanye's finished, Kanye's wrecked. Oh my gosh, he doesn't want to like have discourse. It definitely doesn't matter. Him getting up and walking out on Tim's podcast like that, it doesn't matter, dude. And Tim was pretty much just on full damage control after that. It was a statement. It was a statement, and it's going to make a bunch of like press that he walked off. And this is definitely not the end of Ye's tidal wave. This is only the beginning. So anyway, that's that. I don't really care that much. COVID-19 lockdown protests grow in China. ABC News. Let's get it.
Monitoring extraordinary images coming in from China tonight, growing protests against extreme COVID lockdowns. And take a look at this tonight, why they're now holding up these blank sheets of paper, the message these protesters are trying to send to the world. Here's Martha Raddatz.
Tonight, acts of defiance not seen in a generation. Massive protests spreading across China, the largest since Tiananmen Square. Thousands of people risking their own safety, marching in the streets of Shanghai and the capital, Beijing, outraged over President Xi's extreme zero COVID lockdowns, some calling for his resignation. Demonstrators holding up those blank pieces of white paper, now a symbol of the movement, saying it represents everything they want to say but cannot. The protests erupting after this fire in the western city of Urumqi, killing 10 people, many blaming the government's strict COVID measures for the delayed response. Despite the lockdowns, COVID cases still surging in China, more than 25,000 new infections every day. Tonight, the White House not condemning China's crackdown, but saying in a statement it supports the right to peacefully protest and acknowledging the ongoing lockdowns could impact the global economic recovery.
Clearly, China as a major economic player, and China still struggling with COVID, there's an impact on the economy.
Yeah, so let's drill down on this. Let's get right to Martha. As you reported there, concerns about how China's COVID lockdowns and these protests could impact an already fragile global economy, the supply chain and stocks taking a hit today, Martha?
That's right, David. The Dow plunging nearly 500 points today over fears about the impact on China's own economic recovery and broader supply chain concerns. David?
All right, Martha Raddatz. Martha, great to have you back after the holiday with us.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel.
A blank white piece of paper, huh? That's kind of weird. That's like some NPC stuff. It represents everything that we wish we could say, but you can't say. Why can't you say it? I thought you people were good at math. LMAO. That was low. I'm sorry. I thought you were smart. Do my homework, ling-ling. All right, enough. I don't know. I don't have anything to say about it. I should not make racist jokes right now. Come on, man. Let's get it together, guys. I don't think they ever got out of the lockdown. When will people change? We number one. When is Z going to send in the tanks? It's going to be the Tiananmen Square Massacre Part 2. Will the protests in China bring about a change in the zero COVID lockdown policy? Switchfoot, dare you to move. LOL. All right. Well, yeah, I mean, it sounds like they're being pretty militant with the protests over there. Or, I'm sorry, with the lockdowns. I'm definitely glad that the lockdowns are over here. I still see lots of people wearing masks. It seems like company people, professionals, they're always wearing masks. Or a lot of them are. Yeah, China will be in my prayers, I guess. Let's get it. Trump facing backlash after dinner with Ye and white nationalist Nick Fuentes. NBC News.
Donald Trump facing growing backlash tonight to his dinner last week with prominent white nationalist Nick Fuentes at his private Mar-a-Lago club. Some of the strongest condemnation coming from his former vice president.
President Trump was wrong to give a white nationalist, an anti-Semite, and a Holocaust denier a seat at the table. And I think he should apologize.
Republican politicians and Jewish groups now among those calling out.
Apologize for having dinner with Nick Fuentes. Man, I don't want to make it seem like I have an opinion about all this. This is just very strange. I mean, of course I have some sort of an opinion, but I don't know. Milo, nobody's cared about Milo for a really long time, dude. Nobody cares about Milo, first of all. Second of all, Trump didn't even know who Nick Fuentes was up until very recently. And then Kanye is just doing whatever the hell it is that Kanye's doing. I don't know. This is just a dumpster fire, dude. It's just funny. It's fun to watch. It's funny to watch. Let's keep watching this.
The former president.
This is something which degrades him, frankly, to do what he's done, and is something which diminishes the country as well. It's very unfortunate.
I mean, yes, it's appalling. Yes, it's unconscionable. And yes, it's entirely in character for Donald Trump.
The Holocaust-denying podcaster Fuentes arriving at Mar-a-Lago as a guest of rapper Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, himself engulfed in controversy for past anti-Semitic remarks. West describing their dinner with Mr. Trump in this since-deleted Twitter video.
So Trump is really impressed with Nick Fuentes. And Nick Fuentes, unlike so many of the lawyers and so many people that he was left with on his 2020 campaign.
In a series of social media posts, Mr. Trump denied knowing Fuentes and said he used the dinner to advise West to stay out of politics. All of this an unwelcome distraction for Republicans looking to rally around their Senate candidate Herschel Walker, facing off against Democratic incumbent Raphael Warnock in that runoff in Georgia. More than 180,000 people have already voted ahead of next week's Election Day.
I feel like I have a few alternate considerations here. Okay. 2 different timelines to consider. 1, Kanye is secretly like woke and SJW. He's on some like Black Panthers, black people shit. And he's trying to just outsmart the entire alt-right. I've considered that. I considered it last night. That Kanye caught on to this alt-right movement, and he's familiar with 4chan, and he's trying to get all up inside of the alt-right so he can just like crash it and fucking like do some like Wakanda shit. He's trying to like subvert and destroy the alt-right for Wakanda Black Lives Matter stuff. Now, that's probably not what's happening. The other thing to consider, what was the other thing to consider? I'm brain farting. Let's read some comments while I think about it. Just because you say he's facing backlash doesn't mean he actually is. You're trying to steer people's thoughts in the direction you want them to go. Local elderly man entertains dinner guests. They had a wonderful time. I don't really remember what I was going to say for the second point, honestly. I thought the other thing is that, like, Nick Fuentes is being used to, like, defame Trump. But no, all of these people are actors, dude. All of these people are glows. That's what really seems like it's going on, is all of these people are glows, and Kanye is like the elected leader of this glow movement. And, what I was really thinking is that the glows are kind of testing the waters to see if they can get this next election to be like radical SJW, pink hats, Antifa, Black Lives Matter versus super trad-based alt-right neo-Nazi LARPers. Like, that's also kind of what it looks like, is they just want modern politics to be the radical left versus the radical right. And this is kind of testing the waters in the right. Like, Kanye is taking this stuff to the surface, okay? A lot of people already knew about 4chan pull, and we're already, like, hearing this far-right narrative. Kanye is bringing it to the surface, and they're just trying to, like, take a census of how many of the right-wing people are, like, down with this. We have this apparent swing to the right. An escalation of the dialectic. Yeah, it's an escalation of the dialectic. Like, they're trying to... And this is kind of what Southern Israelite's been saying for years with the Dreyfus affair. Like, they're pushing this far-right stuff to the surface. It's time... You know, it started with 4chan poll, and now this is the next gear. This is the next level. They want everybody reading about, you know, the culture of critique and, like, all this anti-Jewish stuff. And my position has always been, and you actually risk getting in trouble. Like, YouTube doesn't give a shit. I made a video about 4chan poll and what I thought it was, and I took a strike for even talking about it. But I think it's basically a glowy narrative, because a lot of the stuff that's getting blamed on the Jews is stuff that the CIA does and the secret societies, the Anglo establishment. There's a lot of other players. There's a lot of other players involved, but I guess that's a lot to say on that for now. This is what NBC broadcasts instead of real news concerning our current administration and all of the failings that have come in 2+ years. But yeah. My opinion aside, this stuff is entertaining to watch. It's a trip. It's a happening. It's like a big, never-ending happening, dude. Kanye is doing his thing all over the world. And as far as Kanye collaborating with Nick Fuentes, it just seems like Nick Fuentes is getting sucked up in Kanye's orbit, you know? People keep saying, gosh, people are so complimentary of Nick Fuentes. He's so smart. He's so smart. He's the best speaker of the right. He's the best speaker of the right. Well, he got steamrolled by Kanye today. Like, nobody really gave a crap about what he had to say today. Everybody's listening to Kanye. And when Kanye wanted to stop talking, he just got up and left. He's just getting sucked up into his orbit. What is catfishing and why is it dangerous? CBS Los Angeles. It will be a continual refinement of division pursuant to civil war. Accelerate hype.
Now at 4:30, a Riverside community in shock this afternoon after the murders of a mother and her parents. A daughter and her parents. Police say 69-year-old Mark Winnick, his wife Sherry, and their daughter Brooke were killed by this man, 28-year-old Austin Edwards. They also believe Edwards actually targeted the 15-year-old daughter online, drove across the country to meet her, and committed those murders. He later died in a shootout. The teen managed to get away. Well, Edwards apparently posed as a teenager online to lure that 15-year-old into his web.
It's a practice called catfishing, where people pretend to be someone else to lure in a target. KCAL9's Jake Reiner has a closer look at this cyber danger.
Catfishing is a core piece of what's happening out there that's harming children, so we're very focused on it.
Mark Berkman is the CEO of the Organization for Social Media Safety, a nonprofit educating people, young and old, on the dangers of social media.
So the first thing I want to ask you, Mark, is what is catfishing?
Catfishing is essentially impersonating another individual on social media, usually by using a fake profile meant to change either age, appearance, gender.
Berkman says that is a working definition because the term is evolving with each new case. Like in the Riverside tragedy, we're still learning more, but police say the suspect catfished the young girl pretending to be a teenager himself.
Parents and children should realize that these predators are very sophisticated, so it can be very hard to differentiate a real account from an individual that's catfishing and using a fake profile.
Which is why Berkman says a huge red flag is if your child is talking with someone they've never actually met in person. Also, catfishers will use all types of platforms.
We've seen catfishing cases on major platforms like Snapchat, Instagram, gaming platforms as well, like Fortnite and Roblox.
So what can parents do about this? Berkman says, step one, warn your children about what...
Dude, anytime people mention like Roblox being dangerous, I just think that's so funny, dude. I imagine like a 9-year-old boy talking to like fed honeypots on Roblox. Like, hey son, you ever think about starting a white nationalist utopia just for white people who are like, have guns? I don't know. I just kind of like Roblox. You should read The Doctrine of Fascism there, buddy. Just radicalizing kids on Roblox.
What catfishing is. Step two, set the social media ground rules.
Especially for younger teens, certainly tweens, not connecting with individuals that they do not know in real life, preferably who are not their own age.
And step three, look into installing third-party safety software.
Our major initiative this coming year is a piece of legislation called Sammy's Law, and that would require all social media platforms to give parents the choice to use third-party safety software. That certainly can be a frontline defense against predatory behavior.
And the reason they're advocating for this legislation is because not all social media platforms allow third-party safety software. I'm Jake Reiner, KCAL9 News.
Your friend got radicalized on Roblox. Okay, well, I feel like catfishing is nothing new. I used to go on like, gosh, there was all these chat rooms. Chat rooms was like a pre-social media thing. You just go to big sketchy-ass chat rooms. Everybody's like ASL, age, sex, location. You want to cyber, like having cyber sex with like weird strangers in chat rooms. Pretty much middle school for me. Yeah, that's pretty much was chat rooms in a nutshell. And apparently, I mean, they had all kinds of news segments back in the day. You know, girls would be like, you want to meet up? People would meet up on these chat rooms, and sometimes it would be very bad. Like, bad things would happen. We had somebody speak to our class when I was in, like, middle school, and they brought up, like, a random kid's Facebook account or a random kid's MySpace, and was just making it clear that it's like easy to find people and where they live and what they do and blah, blah, blah. And it's a big, dangerous world out there. Somebody in chat says that I'm not falling for it. Stoic, you aren't falling for this. No way, dude. But then you started talking about Charlemagne exposed him as off his meds. Well, I'll tell you what I'm not falling for, brother. people trying to smear my good name, trying to smear the gang. They're trying to say that I'm a white nationalist, that I'm a white supremacist, that I'm a Nazi, that I'm far right. I'm getting labeled all this stuff because they just want people to write me off very quick. But anybody who's been watching since the beginning, you know, I was trying to call out Nick Fuentes to a debate. I was trying to like smear some of these people. Baked Alaska did not like me. The Groypers do not like me. Groypers don't like me. That means all of these like far right groups don't like me. I'm pretty much saying it's all ruled by feds. And, you know, the one battle worth fighting for is the battle for Christianity. And, you know, a lot of people these days are just trying to be like, oh, Christianity's whitewashed and it's some racist white religion. That's the only battle that's worth fighting, if you ask me. Yeah, that's what I'm sticking my neck out for. And we're actually about to watch this video right here. These Christians want American democracy to end. I have not watched this video, but this is some sort of... I think this guy's going to be talking about the alt-right's influence on Christianity. And this was about October 2nd, 2021, a little over a year ago. Let's check it out.
This is weird. This Tyler Huckabee writing over at, let's see, which website is this? Oh, it's Relevant Magazine. So it's it's just an absolutely fascinating story. The MIT Technology Review has just gotten a hold of some leaked internal Facebook documents. So this is stuff that Facebook knew was going on. And somehow somebody inside Facebook decided to leak this to MIT. MIT published it. And here's the story. Actually, let me give you a little bit of backstory first off. Last week on this program, I did a story about how evangelical Christians or white evangelicals are now, when you look at the surveys that are done of these folks, more committed to Donald Trump than to Jesus Christ. They more strongly identify as Republicans, and specifically as Trump Republicans. They more closely identify as Republicans than they do with the values of Christianity.
I highly doubt that. Where's the source? This just sounds like far left raging, dude.
With the teachings of Jesus. On point after point after point. So where, you know, and this is the entire white evangelical movement of the United States, which is tens of millions of white Americans. How did this happen? Well, now we're finding out. This is the story by Tyler Huckabee over at Relevant Magazine. 19 of Facebook's top 20 pages for American Christians are run by Eastern European troll farms overseas. These people are pretending to be Americans. People assume that they're Americans. They are not.
Eastern European troll farms overseas. Now, that's part of why I wanted to watch this video. It's always nice for my narrative when somebody uses the term troll farms. People's just merely acknowledging that that's a thing. Troll farms. What's a troll farm? It's a place where a bunch of trolls hang out to discuss, you know, people to troll and events to troll and influencers to troll. So I guess it would kind of look like a message board where people make posts about maybe like a community of streamers that people regularly coordinate harassment against. It's like IP2 and Kiwi Farms. That's why it's called Kiwi Farms, because it's a troll farm. So anybody who's not familiar with that term, it's something good to know, because, you know, if like you're a particular kind of a streamer who has a message that threatens the establishment, well, you know, they might hire certain kind of proxy agencies where maybe a lot of people in that agency are former CIA, and then they'll kind of like infiltrate these troll farms and they'll kind of like weaponize different kinds of like smear campaigns against people. I think you guys know what I'm getting at, dude. So, and he's saying that these troll farms are running a lot of Christian groups on Facebook Well, it's that similar kind of an element. It's this very radical far-right element. You know, a lot of people on the right have learned to kind of like roll their eyes whenever anybody says Nazi, but there is a Nazi ideology out there, and I think it's growing, and at its heart, it's definitely anti-Christian, and it's real.
This is coordinated among foreign professionals working together to spread provocative content in the United States. Basically, they're trying to take down our country, and they're using religion to do it, and politics, obviously. Collectively, their Christian Facebook pages reach 75 million users a month. How are they reaching all these people? It's Facebook's algorithm that's pushing people into it because, hey, you know, divisive stuff increases engagement. They're using the same strategy that was used by Russia in 2016 to get Donald Trump elected, using Facebook. And Facebook knew about this in 2016 and didn't do anything about it. They say now that they're doing something about it, which would be a good thing. But this is Jeff Allen, who used to be a senior-level data scientist at Facebook and is the author of this MIT report. He says, quote, our platform, he's referring to Facebook, our platform has given the largest voice in the Christian American community to a handful of bad actors who, based on their media production practices, have never been to church. Where are these people coming from, these trolls, these troll farms? They're in Kosovo and Macedonia. Really?
And, you know, obviously when you start getting really woke, this is kind of like a lower level. I mean, everybody's seen the Yuri shit, the Yuri Bezmenov or whatever, where he talks about the communist subversion of our country, and he says it's all the KGB. I think when you start getting the real high-level red pills, yeah, you'll realize that a lot of these troll farms have servers overseas, but they got our boys in blue over here running some of this shit. I showed you guys, dude. I showed you the picture of fucking former CIA dressed up as a mailman. They got our boys. They got our people running some of this shit. Some of this, like, Nazi honeypot is our feds and our CIA, and yeah, they want Nazis, guys.
We've got American Christians following a political ideology masquerading as Christianity that is being promoted by Kosovars and Macedonians? Yes, it turns out that that's the case. And these are the top American Facebook pages.
Or it's a Fed with a VPN.
That are run by people from outside the United States. Number 1, be happy, enjoy life. Number 2, Jesus is my Lord. Number 3, you can. Number 4, speak loudly. Number 5, purpose of life. These are the names of Facebook groups. Number 6, positive quotes. Number 7, memories of a loved one. Number 8, smile and shine. Number 9, light of the world. Number 10, why not us? Number 11, happiness is in your mind.
Whoa, what the hell are you talking about, dude? Calm down.
Number 12, my life. Number 13, life is beautiful. Number 14, blessing. Number 15, conscious. Number 16, blessed. All of these Facebook groups are being run by trolls in Macedonia and Kosovo to disrupt American Christianity and American Republican politics.
Well, I mean, and it's just your responsibility as an intellectual to just, you know, if you're surrounded by shills and you can't tell, like, you know, then you couldn't cut the cheese. That's a lot of what, you know, modern being intellectual is about, is like, because there's so many agents and honeypots and what have you, so many distractions on the internet, so many people trying to suck you into something disingenuous, that what really separates the chaff from the wheat at this point is if you can see through it, if you can not be subverted. And on my search for truth, I definitely spent time believing stuff that wasn't true, and I just think that's a part of it. It's hard to figure it out. Check out Ye's interview with Lex Friedman from last month. Skip to the section about the Holocaust. I'm not going to watch that on my podcast right now. We're actually about to wrap it up here pretty soon, but I was thinking about watching that for myself at some point. Kanye, Lex Friedman. So I wanted to go back. Yeah, let's check this out. Can Christians vote Democrat? let's see what these guys got to say about that for 6 minutes.
But if you were talking to someone that was going to vote Democrat, where would you kind of start that conversation with both of them? So, Frank, we'll start with you, and then Bobby, maybe we'll get your insight into that question as well.
Yeah, I would say look at the platforms. Look at both party platforms. Because let's be honest, in the United States of America, at this point, it's either going to be a Republican or a Democrat that's going to be president. There's not going to be some third party at this point, okay? So you've got two choices. In this election, it's going to be Trump or Biden. That's it, okay? I wish we had different choices, but we don't. So what you're going to have to now do is you're going to have to look at the platforms. You got Trump's record, you got Biden's record. Biden's been in Washington a lot, even longer than Trump, and you can see where they stand and where they're heading. And personally, for me, when I look at the Democratic platform, I'm horrified. Just being honest with you. I mean, it is the most anti-biblical platform than it's ever been. Not to say the Republicans are a walk in the park, but in this case, it seems to me the Republicans are the least worst choice, okay? We got two pretty bad choices, but the Republicans especially are the least worst choice, and that's typically what happens in an election. In fact, Dr. Norman Geisler, our mutual friend who passed away last year, Bobby, used to have a saying, and this was before the 2016 election. He said, just about every election is a choice between a known witch and a suspected devil. It was correct in 2016, if you know what I mean. But he said that long before 2016. You just have to look at the platforms and see where people are going to go. And as I said before, it's not our salvation, but politics is important because politics affects our ability to preach and live the gospel, as we talked about earlier. And that is very important. And it seems to me the Democratic platform is going to take away a lot of religious freedom. And I'm concerned about that. I'm also concerned about their stance on life, obviously. I'm concerned about their stance on so many issues. Marxism is another issue. Identity politics is another issue. We shouldn't be dividing people by these ethnicities. As I mentioned earlier, there's one race, the human race. Yeah. And we ought to be just saying everybody's made in the image of God, and we ought to treat everybody that way, regardless of what you think politically.
Yeah.
Well, Bobby, let me say one thing. I see people talk. Why are we talking about politics? We just explained why we're talking about politics. Because it affects.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
To even have this conversation right now. You can't have this conversation in China. You can't have this conversation in North Korea. You can't preach the gospel in these places. Wake up, people. Sorry.
No, I think that, listen, my heart, as I mentioned, as a pastor, was always to just, I didn't mention parties because I just wanted everybody to be as welcome as possible because I knew that the big dividing issue is going to be the gospel. And that's the stumbling block. I will say that as I think about where we are today, statements like, why are we talking about politics? Why are we talking about politics? Well, it doesn't take a genius right now for us to look at the news and realize how much we are being politically affected right now as a culture. Like, do I think COVID-19 is a real issue? Yeah, I think it's a real issue. But do I think it's being politicized? Absolutely. I think it's really being politicized. So I think it is real, but I think it's being politicized. And so when I think of both sides, I think that, hey, there is no perfect candidate. That's for sure. William Lane Craig recently, I heard him talking about how when it comes to a particular candidate, hey, it would be great if the person had the character that you wanted, but what you're voting for is their policies. What policies are they promising to uphold? And the policies that I see that Biden would uphold is going to be a complete overturning of our country. It's going to be reinforcing LGBTQ. It's going to be reinforcing critical race theory. It's going to be, it's going to be on a Marxist track. It's going to be pro-death with abortion. And so when I think about the Bible, then it doesn't take much for us to stop and look and go, look, I might not like this particular candidate either, but which person is going to enforce policies that are going to help preserve culture the best that would look most like the Bible? Now, I get it. We as a church have the biggest role to play, and we need to step up. We need to get involved. We need to get engaged. But that doesn't mean we need to be passive as it relates to politics. I think at times in the past, I was probably more passive than I should have been. And this is coming from a guy who served as a lead pastor. And it was because I think that many pastors will stay. It felt appropriate at the time. But ever since, there's been so much decline in the last several years, Frank, that it doesn't feel quite as appropriate. There was a time where the left and the right, I mean, they were different, obviously, but it wasn't as overwhelming. Now it's becoming so overwhelming that I think pastors who are being passive, they won't be being passive when we look like a country that has been completely silenced. But then I fear it'll be too late, and that's why I'm speaking up.
Okay. There's a little bit of value in that. Closing thoughts, friendos. I am starting to want to really specialize my studies. I'm pushing myself harder to read. I'm still reading the book about anthropology and the CIA. It's very interesting. Next, I'm going to want to read Fire in the Minds of Men. Going to get a really good background on the revolutionary faith, Enlightenment, Freemasonry, secret societies, Illuminati, that kind of stuff. But where I really want to start honing in is my political worldview. Like, I want to start taking my research to a place where I have a very articulate understanding of my political worldview as a Christian. I was talking about focusing on, like, Christianity versus humanism. Like, what are the main similarities and differences between Christianity and humanism? I think it's safe to say that humanism is kind of an extension of democracy, or maybe democracy is an extension of humanism. But people who have this kind of leftist, humanist, altruistic worldview, they're all about democracy. So Christianity and democracy, Christianity and socialism, Christianity and humanism, altruism, and then also Christianity and monarchism, and just like political Christian philosophy. I don't know. That's the areas that I'm wanting to start honing in on. So I think down the line, next few months, you can expect to see some videos from me, like maybe some short video presentations on Christianity and humanism, Christianity and socialism, Christianity and democracy, because I want to start getting very articulate on what I believe there, and maybe even kind of getting to a place where it's like, okay, maybe Karl Marx was trying to solve a legitimate problem. Like, he was trying to solve the issue of the industrialized capitalist society, and maybe I could kind of try to, like, pick up from where he left off and start kind of thinking, how should Christians be living? How should the government be? And a lot of what it looks like is the government fails no matter what, and it's always a demonic system. You should play Rust with Wappy. Probably not going to happen, buddy. Carl says he likes you. Let's go. Just pulling money from crypto until the lights go out. Amen to that, brother. Except I'm not doing that. Rip that last few $100s I had in there. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today, guys. I like the podcast being like a nice compact punch. Only about 45 minutes deep today. Just trying to get it nice and potent. We covered a lot of ground today. Yeah, we have the magic mirror now. Imagine that. Tablets, hype, smart technology. So I will leave you guys with that. I'm gonna get some reading done, make my pasta, chill with my kitties, and enjoy the first snowy winter evening with my cats. Thank you for being here, my friends. God bless you. And I'll see you tomorrow for another coffee stream.